In today's smelly video, I'm rating some samples. I'm going to give you my opinion of the best-selling examples, from MAISON Margiela to Frederic, MALLE and Tom Ford. With this selection of scents, you know you'll never be bored. There's quite a few in here that you never heard me talk about, so settle down and listen to my smelly sample walkabout. If you try before you buy, then you can save a lot of money. There's some good picks for autumn now the weather's not so sunny. Can you guess what the most sampled scents on the list will be? The ones that have a claim to a place in Francom history. There's a few here from Creed, I guess you've got to expect that. If you tell Al from Street Scents, he'll say, I respect that. Word up to Vanilla Ice and shout out to Slim Shady, but they've never made a rap about Portrait of a Lady. They call me Mr. Smelly and I'm known for projecting, and I hope these 10 fragrances are as good as you're expecting. Hello everyone, welcome back. So an exciting topic today, and that's going to be the top 10 best-selling fragrance samples on Fragrance Samples UK. They are the sponsors of this video. They've kindly sent me their top 10 bestsellers, and they've given me a discount code, SMELLYSEPTEMBER. If you follow the link in the description below, it will automatically, if you're in the UK, apply the 10% discount when you go to the checkout if you buy something. And if you're outside the UK, they do ship internationally. You have to email them. Details of the email are down there below, and it's also, you can find it on their website. And if you mention that code, SMELLYSEPTEMBER, you'll still get your 10% off. So really kind of them to do that. Let's get into it then. They've sent me 10 samples. Actually, Greg, who is the owner of Fragrance Samples UK and one of my favourite UK reviewers.
Hello guys, Greg back with another video.
GreggyBoy76, I'll put the link to his channel below as well. He agreed with me that AVENTUS and Green Irish Tweed, which are their two biggest sellers, are maybe ones we don't need to talk about again because we've covered them so much on my channel and every other YouTube channel out there. So this is the next 10 along. See if you can guess what you think will be in the list. So he didn't give me any order of which one is the best selling of the 10 that he sent me and which one is 10th in the list. I've decided to order them in my order of preference of how much I like them. Some of them I love, some of them not so much. So let's have a look. Number 10 then, the one I like least. It's Tom Ford's Black Orchid. So yeah, the samples, by the way, come in these rather nice little plastic atomizers, and it's a really safe way to do it, so there's no risk of them breaking. And these are the smaller sizes. They come in 1 to 10 ml sizes, and you get a nice little pouch like that. And great service, they always come really quickly. Unlike my ex-wife, who never seemed to get there, at least not with me. Black Orchid then. A bit of a weird one. It's known as being a sort of a gothic type of fragrance. Many people use that expression to describe it. I know Carlos, the Brooklyn fragrance lover, really likes it. Truffle is one of the notes. That's kind of interesting. There's some florals in there. Also mentioned a dark chocolate, incense, and some balsamic kind of resinous notes. To me, it definitely, there's a sort of a bit of a floral thing, a certain darkness, and something almost a bit mushroom-like or fungus-like. And it smells a little bit odd to me. It's quite interesting at first sniff. Sometimes you think, oh yeah, that's a real work of art, and maybe it is, but to me it's one that I've never quite got. It's a little bit odd, and something about it, maybe that gothic image in my mind, makes me feel that it's not a fragrance that makes me feel happy. I know it's supposed to be a dark fragrance, but I just don't really enjoy it. I find it a little bit odd. So Black Orchid, always been a bit of a pass for me. The next one then, a big seller over at Fragrance Samples UK apparently, is AVENTUS for Her. So this is number 9 in my list. Yeah, I find this a little bit underwhelming. It's very much a fresh scent. It could be pretty unisex. There's apple in there. It's got a lot of similar notes to AVENTUS. Blackcurrant is in there, so there's a lot of fruitiness. A bit more of the florals in this one and less of the woodiness, and without the smokiness in AVENTUS, and without the pineapple. So maybe all the most fun stuff, the pineapple and the smokiness in AVENTUS, is not there. It does share some of the sort of nice crisp freshness. Very underwhelming though, and it just smells like it could be a fresh, citrusy, floral, female designer fragrance to me. So I'm afraid that one doesn't really excite me amongst Creed's great range of freshies. Only at number 9 for me. Next up at number 8, I might surprise and perhaps disappoint or annoy some of you. Let me know in the comments below. This is just my personal opinion. This is my personal taste. So By the Fireplace by MAISON Margiela. Gets a lot of talk in the community, and it's, as the name implies, a sort of a smoky scent. Smoky and sweet. And some of the notes listed actually for this one include guaiac wood, there's vanilla, there's also chestnuts roasting by the fireplace. It all ties in together. Maybe a little bit of a nutty, woody, smoky, sweet aura. But think I've smelled many scents that do this in a more exciting way. This one seems just okay to me, and it's never, I've tried it numerous times in stores, so MAISON Martin Margiela's by the Fireplace. Just okay, and rather underwhelming again for me, considering the amount of torque that it's got. Number 7 then for me, getting into ones that I like slightly more, but still not blown away by this, and it's a real perennial favourite of the fragrance community. It's Tom Ford, again, sorry Tom Ford, Oud Wood. So this one of course has notes including oud, other woody masculine kind of notes, a very well balanced and easy to wear kind of oud with really just a hint of oud. You can smell some oud in it. It's woody, it's rather dry, it's rather arid, it's rather grown up, but there's nothing that really stands out or is exciting in this scent to me. It seems rather tame, rather safe, pleasant enough, but considering the price of Tom Ford full bottles is rather expensive, I think Oud Wood has always been a rather underwhelming, I keep using that word, it's a fragrance that has never excited me when I've smelled it, and I've sometimes thought, yeah, I ought to like this, everyone talks about it, maybe this time when I smell it I'll get what all the fuss is about, but so far I never have. So Oud Wood from Tom Ford, definitely worth trying because so many other people get more out of it than I do. But for me, it's always been a pass again. Next up then, it's CH Men Prive. So our first, well, there was a Tom Ford designery one earlier in the list with Black Orchid, but this is the first really designer fragrance, and it's CH Men Prive. So this one was a 2015 release. It's got grapefruit and pomelo in the opening. There's whiskey. There's leather, tonka, benzoin and cardamom. So it's sort of in the same ballpark a little bit for me as things like La Nuit de l'Homme as a sort of sweet and nighttime masculine fragrance. This extra slight twist of booziness from the whiskey is in there, and again it's quite pleasant. I like it, but it doesn't really excite me. There's nothing that really stands out, and I don't quite understand why it's been so highly praised by so many other reviewers. They're certainly not wrong. This is all about personal taste, but this one, and I've I love the bottle. I think the bottle design looks really good, and I've always wanted to like it, but I've never really been excited when I smell it. It sort of feels almost similar to me to Dolce & Gabbana's The One. There's an almost tobacco-y feel in there that also has some grapefruit freshness in there, a little bit of sweetness, this kind of nighttime, slightly sweet yet sort of fresh feel. Pleasant enough, but for me, I've never found myself wildly excited by CH Men Prive. Now we'll get into my top 5, so I'm getting a little bit more positive hopefully. Effing Fabulous, we'll call it, by Tom Ford. Big release from 2016, I think, or was it? No, sorry, it's 2017. Of course, the name caused a little bit of a stir, but a bit cheeky. I know the new one is Lost Cherry. I haven't had a chance to smell that. They're getting more and more silly with their names at Tom Ford. Effing Fabulous. This of the Tom Fords in this list has got a bit more to it for me. There's almond, vanilla, tonka, and leather. It's a really nice, classy, leathery, slightly sweet but well balanced fragrance. It's very smooth. It's a very smooth kind of suede like leather, just a hint of sweetness but not very sweet, and a nice kind of depth from the tonka bean, just a hint of a sort of nutty bitterness from the almond. I quite like that, but again, it's not blowing me away, but I'd put it at number 5, so a decent offering, I think, from Tom Ford, but with the silly name and stuff, I'm a bit put off that one. We're getting to the top 4 now. There's some that I really like here. Now, this time when I've smelled it, and I've smelled it many times before, I've actually been really rather impressed with Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille. There's a lot of Tom Fords in the list. A lot of people like to sample those, obviously. This one at least has got that real niche feel. You smell this and you sort of take a step back and say, oh wow, that's something different, that's pungent, that's strong. There's a sort of dried fruit note in here for me, which may or may not work for you. Certainly there's a tobacco note, and certainly obviously there's vanilla. It's sweet, it's pungent, it's deep, it's got a kind of density about the smell, a real niche quality to it. Some people say it's been reformulated since the first versions came out, I think in 2011, but the one that we've got here certainly still has a real pungent aura about it. It's known for performing well. These kind of notes will perform well. It's really dense, it's really rich. Tobacco, sweetness, a sort of dried fruitiness, syrupy. Be careful, it might please some people, but it might put off an equal amount. But if you're into niche fragrances, this is a must try, and I rather like that one from Tom Ford. Next up then, and we're going to see which houses I lean towards a bit, and just you know, my personal taste. I have certain houses that seem to appeal to me more than others. I'm trying not to be biased. I really want to like some Tom Fords, but I find myself more drawn to Creed fragrances. And Virgin Island Water, I know it's one of Greggy Boy's favourites on his channel. Lovely, fresh, citrusy summer scent. Lime and coconut are the two standout notes. Apparently it's got a rum note. I don't get much booziness, but I get a sort of smooth, crisp cedarwood, maybe a little bit of Creed's famous ambergris, giving that just a hint of salty sea air, but this really, really sharp and lovely lime burst combined with the sweetness of coconut. Absolutely beautiful scent, superb. Greg gets good performance out of it, I know that. I haven't worn it enough to really talk about performance. Some people say performance not great, but Virgin Island Water, a great summer scent from Creed. I also really love Gorse from Laboratory Perfumes, which smells remarkably similar and can be bought in the full bottle for a rather lower price. They do have that on Fragrance Samples UK as well, Gorse, so you could also always do a comparison. Into my top 2 then. So this was interesting that this one featured in the top 10 most purchased on Fragrance Samples UK. Portrait of a Lady by Frederic Malle. A really famous fragrance in our community, and a lot of men wear this. It's been named perhaps incorrectly as Portrait of a Lady, which obviously leans you to think it's got to be for women. It's very much unisex. Rose, sandalwood, patchouli and incense. Really strong rose note, a sort of smokiness, a dark woodiness and a mysterious element to this one coming from the incense. Very, very rich, very, very grown up kind of rose. It's not a sort of jammy, girly floral rose. It's a very dense, almost dark rose because of the way it combines with the other notes, and it has real pungency and power. Claire from the Smurfy Girly channel wears this around me a lot. It really reminds me of her, and it's one of her most classy and best performing fragrances. So Portrait of a Lady, a legend in the Fragcom, and I absolutely really love that one, and I would like to have a bottle myself. Claire's got a decant, but we really need to get a bottle, don't we? So number 1, or my favourite of the ones he sent me, is again from Creed, and it's Royal Oud. So Creed's Royal Oud, the one that I've actually liked the best. And I should have mentioned that it's the only one in the list that I own a bottle of. Here it is. Let's find my little sample of it. You get these nice little labels like that. That's how they come from Fragrance Samples UK. So yeah, heavenly stuff, Royal Oud. It doesn't have much noticeable oud. That's the big downside on this one. But it really is a great fragrance. It really has niche quality. So you've got some pink pepper in there. There's cedarwood in the base, really crisp, woody cedarwood kind of note in there. Something a little bit ashy and maybe exotic. And there's some citrus freshness in the beginning. So for a really classy, woody scent with maybe just a hint of oud, giving it something exotic, I really prefer it a lot to Oud Wood from Tom Ford. And I guess they kind of do the same thing in being woody scents with a little bit of oud in them. But this one, for me, Creed have given us something that is more outstanding, smells like a niche scent, has real class to it. It's one of the real niche smelling Creeds. It's not just a simple citrus freshie. I think you can get 10ml on Fragrance Samples UK for around about £23. I think that's good value for giving you a really good amount of that fragrance to try, and you're not having to outlay a massive amount of money. I think it's really worth considering. They're kind of 10ml samples, or if you really like it, you could even get 2 10ml samples and have 20ml for under £50. When you compare the price, I think it used to be about £90 for Creed's old 30ml bottles that they sold. It's a lot better value than that. So worth considering some of the larger sizes if you really want to have a fragrance and use it for a few months. I think they're good value over there on Fragrance Samples UK. So let me know what you thought of the picks. Well, they weren't really picks. They were the top 10 bestsellers apart from Aventus and Green Irish Tweed, which we left out. What did you think about the way I ordered them? I've obviously got my personal preferences, and they are purely my personal taste. I'm not right, I'm not wrong, but I'm entitled to my opinion, and so are you. Please express it in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, whatever you're doing in life, let's project. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Smelly.